It's Hillbillies in the Bush, and today I'm going to show you guys how I make sausage gravy. For years I struggled with this and tried making it for a long time, and then I finally come across the secret to making good sausage gravy. For some of you guys or gals may already know this. For some of you that might be struggling with it or don't make sausage gravy exactly the way you like it, I've got a little trick to show you here in a little bit that'll allow you to make any kind of sausage gravy, and it'll just be lovely. So give me a little bit. I'm going to brown up some sausage, and then I'll show you the little trick that I found out there several years ago, and I make some of the best gravy that, well, our family's eaten, so they all like it. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. The way I do my sausage is I put it in a screen there and take a potato masher and mash all the oil out into a glass container and then put it back into the pan. The sausage I'm using is real lean. You want to make sure you use good lean sausage, or good sausage. It don't have to be lean, just good quality sausage. So there wasn't much oil, so I went ahead and put some lard in the pan, and now I'm going to get ready to show you the secret ingredient, or the secret to making good gravy. It all has to do with the oil-flour ratio, and it don't matter if you use a tablespoon of oil or 5 gallons of oil or grease. It's all in how much flour you add to the oil that'll make the gravy either good. If you add not enough flour, you'll have a real greasy tasting gravy. Now if you like that, that's fine, but I don't. So I'll show you the ratio. I've never worked out a formula as like if you have 3 tablespoons of oil, how much flour you have and all that, but I'll show you what it looks like when it's just about right. Now I ain't got enough oil. Yeah, I do. I got enough. So let me get a little dab of flour and we'll dump her in there and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, you want to add just enough flour. I already dumped it in there, and you just keep adding your flour, and I use a whisk, by the way, and I'll explain that later. You want to keep adding your flour until you get a paste like this. See, it's not really runny. Now there's heat on this, it's heating up, and I'm going to brown the flour. You want to be real careful when you brown the flour. It's better off to have hardly no brown flour than flour that's burnt. If it's burnt, you're going to have a real bad taste in your gravy. It does not hurt it to not be browned. In fact, there's times when it won't get brown. But if you burn it, yeah, that's nasty. But that right there is what you're looking at. See there, it's not real runny, but it's not big, thick clumps either. It's just about the right consistency. And that's all there is. No matter how much oil you got, you just start adding your flour until you get it to this consistency right here. Now, I like sage, so I always add a little dab of sage, and I dump it right into the flour, and put a little dab of sage in there, which I got sage gravy, but I like a little bit more. Since we had to use lard instead of, and since the sausage didn't have a lot of gravy, lard is kind of tasteless. So I add a little bit of salt, pepper, and sage in this mix. Once this flour browns, you want to add the milk, and that's basically to cool it off so that it don't burn, and also to start adding your gravy. The milk you want to add to it is, that'll vary too. If you add too much milk, or if you add not enough milk, it's going to be real thick, as it's cooking. All you have to do is keep adding milk. If you add too much milk and it never thins down, you just keep reducing it and it will eventually thin down. The reason I use a whisk in my gravy is to incorporate air. If you've ever had gravy that tastes kind of dead and flat, that's because it is. It's been cooked and it's not been stirred, it's not been whipped. By whipping your milk with your flour and oil, you get air incorporated into it, and it makes more of a lively gravy, you would call it. But this is the way I make gravy. Now my flour is getting real close here, or my mixture here, roux, I think that's what you might call it. There's 2 ways to make gravy, either a water base or an oil base, and this is an oil base. I'll make a video on making water base because it's different than the way you do this. But it's getting real close to being browned, and I'm going to have to add the milk. As you guys can see, it's not clumping up. but it's not liquid either. It's got some firmness to it. That's just about right. When you want a little bit of firmness, but not liquidy. And that's about the only way I can tell you. That is the true secret to making this type of gravy, is to make sure you get enough flour in your oil to soak it all up. So let me get off of here. I'll go ahead and get this made, and all I'm going to be doing is whipping it into action, and just keep pouring the milk in and whipping it until we get enough going there, and then when it's all done, I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, I'm back. As you can see, I've added some milk to that. I may need a little dab more milk, I don't know. This looks about right for the amount of gravy. I always make it in this pan here so that you can, so that I can whip it. This is that's a wok. Now some of the other ingredients are, what I added was salt, pepper, sage, but be careful with your salt and pepper and your seasonings until this is just about done, because you can always go in and season it. But if you add too much salt or pepper now, once it condenses a little, it's going to be pretty bad. Here's another ingredient that I add. This is stuff that you should always have on hand, because you can take squirrel meat, deer meat, rabbit, whatever you want, grind it up. You can add this to it, and it'll make a sausage out of it. In fact, we have deer sausage. I never used it because we had some store-bought sausage that needed to get used up, so I didn't use deer meat in this. This one little package, it's 8 ounces, and it'll do 25 pounds of meat. You can season 25 pounds of sausage with this 8-ounce package. And all I do is just add just a little bit. This is another thing, it's real strong, so just a little sprinkle goes a long way. And I'll go ahead and whip all that in. Now basically I'll sit here and stir this and kind of whip it a little bit to incorporate air into it the whole time I'm doing this. There's a couple other things that I do. One of it is my other little secret ingredient that I use in almost everything, it seems like. A little bit of liquid smoke. I'll put a few drops of this in there. It's not really enough to taste, but it's enough to say just something. It gives it a little something there that you may not even know what it is. If you use too much, liquid smoke is real bitter, so you got to watch. But a little dab of liquid smoke in something like this really makes it taste good, or I think it does. Me and Alex has already made biscuits this morning, and we've got biscuits made. Of course, I made a loaf of bread here, but we've already made our biscuits. I never did a video on that, but I can do one. Maybe get a video of Alex making some biscuits. But this will just go ahead and heat up, and it'll start making the gravy. And then when I'm almost done with it and got it right where it's about ready to come up. In fact, I'll turn the fire off when it's done. There's one more ingredient that's a secret ingredient that I'm going to add to this. It'll make your gravy just pop. It'll make it all worthwhile on this last ingredient. So let me get this done, and then when I get done, I'll show you what that is. Okay guys, as you can see, the gravy's nice and thick. Could do with a little more thickness, but your gravy will never thicken until it gets to boil. And it'll also, once as it's cooling, it'll actually get a little thicker. At this point in time, I've already turned the fire off. I'm going to add my sausage back into it. It'll reheat that sausage up and cool the gravy down a little. You can probably see the steam. But then, once this gravy cools just a little bit, there's one other thing I'm going to add, and it's probably cool enough to go ahead and add it, and that is butter. Now the reason I want the gravy to cool is I don't want the butter to separate. It may still separate a little bit, but I want it to melt down in without separating into oil or clarifying, I guess it would be called. But the butter is the last ingredient that I add, and I've already taste tested, and Alex is my taste tester. So that's how you make gravy, or how I make gravy, guys. Give it a try. Don't forget about your flour and your oil mixture. You don't want it runny. You don't want it clumpy. You just want it kind of pasty-like. Use a whisk, and you'll be amazed at how much different or airy or whipped taste that your gravy has. And like I say, I always add the butter at the end. Sometimes I'll add a whole stick depending on how much we make. But it gives it an extra richness that we really like. And let me get this plated up on some biscuits, and I'll show you the final result. And I'll get back with you. Okay guys, here's the finished result. We got gravy over homemade biscuits that me and Alex made earlier today. And boy, I gotta tell you, it's really hot, but excellent stuff. To use quality sausage, and if you don't have enough oil or grease, go ahead and add you a little bit of lard to it. I may not even tell the kids about this. I may just try and eat that whole pan all to myself. But okay guys, hope you enjoy it. Give it a try. I think you'll like it. Till next time, thanks for watching guys, and we'll see y'all later.